All right, we are live now. I see Cat Lady has commented. Have Can you see the comments now?
Sure can. Hey, cat lady.
All right. So we are live here with the Roman Prepper. I found him on Instagram to start with, and we've been following each other and talking back and forth a little bit. So I figured I'd bring him on here and let him introduce himself, maybe kind of where he got the name from and how he got started prepping and things like that. So take it away.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you, man, and I appreciate you having me. I was looking forward to talking to all the folks. Uh, well, as a roaming prepper, where I got the name is actually my business. I work in the energy sector, and there was a string for years that I was traveling 50, 60, 70% of the time. I was gone one week, home the next. And I try to be ready for things. Our family, we've been military since 1908.
Hmm.
So we got a lot of firefighters, cops, soldiers, sailors, and we uh, we try to be ready for contingencies. And when you become a prepper, that's what you try to prepare for is what ifs. And I noticed, there's certain things you can't bring in an airplane. You can't travel with. You can't take a full bug out bag in an airplane. You can, but you got to pay for it.
Hmm.
And now you have this monstrosity with you. So uh, I had to get creative prepping while I was traveling, and I had stuff taken away by the TSA, and I quickly found out what I couldn't do. So anyway, that's where I kind of got the roaming prepper from, was between the family reloads with my company and the travel I did, and even on my time off, it wasn't uncommon for me and the missus to grab the kids and say, "We're taking a road trip," and off we went. So, uh, yeah, that's kind of how I got that name.
That's a pretty cool name. I did wonder about that. So, well, you say you traveled a lot. You did a lot of flying on airplanes and things. What would you take with you to be more prepared?
So, I learned a few lessons, not just from the guard, but working offshore because I worked on the offshore rigs. Um, a rig's a big metal box, so if the thing went dark,
Hmm.
it had a blackout, which had happened. You're in a black box and you can't hear or see anything but echoes.
Hmm.
So certain things I learned to always have with me, like a flashlight, which you
Hmm.
can get through TSA. They may make you open it or turn it on. Flashlight, little first aid kit. I used to keep it in its first aid bag, and they kept making me open it. So I pulled everything out and stuck it in a Ziploc, and I wrote
Hmm.
first aid kit. And now they can just look at it, and that goes through. Um, can't bring knives, but we could bring, those little. It's like a little card for your wallet, and it has like a little cutting thing and a little tool. So you
Hmm.
could stick stuff like that to, it has a little screwdriver tip on the corner. Stuff like that you can bring on the aircraft. Sharpie markers and a notepad. You're going to see that in my YouTubes continuously. Those two items come up a lot.
Hmm.
But there's certain things I could bring, bandages. I can pretty much bring a first aid kit. I haven't tried to bring a tourniquet yet, but I did have an Israeli bandage in my backpack once,
Hmm.
and they didn't look at that. I had the whole thing in the Ziploc, but then I had a keychain with a little bitty pocket knife. That one they took. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, flashlight, first aid kit. I actually keep a compass and
Hmm.
two U.S. silver dollars in case I get stranded in a country and my currency doesn't work. U.S. silver bullion works really well.
That's pretty smart. I've never been on an airplane yet, so it's interesting to me because everywhere I go now, I can have pockets full of everything. So if something goes
Yeah.
wrong, you're more prepared. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
pretty interesting of learning of kind of to be more prepared with some less common things, and working
Yeah.
around stuff like that. So good to see Cat Lady in here, and good to
Yeah.
see Reverend Orville, and we got a couple more lurking in the background, it seems.
Yeah, I did. I guess there was a delay and all the chat came up at once, and I'm kind of sitting here trying to read through it.
Yeah, it will do that. Sometimes
But,
it takes a minute and stuff, but the silver dollars is a pretty good idea. So, maybe in some other countries you've been to, about how much are they worth when you were there at the
so
time?
in Europe, well, you figure any of the European or the more modern countries, it'll be silver market value. So if you bought a US, so it's marked $1 because the
Mhm,
Fed requires that any coin be stamped with a value. The
mhm,
silver itself now is worth what, 25, 30 on the open market. But if you go, and this was a tip a guy who went on deployment gave to me, he said if you go to smaller, less developed countries and there's some kind of problem, that silver coin will probably have a lot more worth. So you figure, one US dollar's what, like three quarters of a euro.
mhm.
But if you go to Buenos Aires, that $25 coin could be, 500 pesos down there. That could get me very quickly to an airport or to an embassy, if
Hmm,
nothing else. Just little things like that. Now, I haven't traveled overseas in a bit. The last few
mhm,
years have been domestic. But when I've gone overseas, and this will save all of y'all a lot of money, don't exchange currency in the airport because you'll get killed. They charge fees and rates. Go to your local bank and tell them about 2 weeks ahead, I need euros or I need pesos, and tell them how much. They'll deduct it from your account.
hmm.
And about a week and a half later, they'll call you and you'll pick up. And so you'll show up with the currency of the nation you're visiting. So
Yeah.
I'll bring, pesos or euros, and I'll bring American dollars. And in like South America, when I've gone to Argentina or Belize, I don't like showing American dollars. So I'll
Mhm.
show the local currency. I have the dollars hidden somewhere in my pockets, and I'll just present local currency so I don't attract attention to myself.
It is a good idea, staying more gray man, and it
Yeah.
looks like Orville has a question for you.
Your fave country and wow. Ooh, that's a good question. Reverend, thank you. So I have two that really strike me, and I really enjoyed the people. One was Austria. I got to stay outside of Vienna, and then some of the local geology and engineering folks took me around the city of Vienna. Um, it's a very respectful culture. It's very clean cities. I mean, it's a German-based culture, so it's very disciplined, very organized. Um, and the folks there were great. The food and the booze and the wine was nice, and the dinners. But seeing these old buildings that go back to the kings and queens of that country was just phenomenal. And they had a very good security system. You could tell they had good policing, good engineering. So that was one place I liked. The other place was Argentina. Buenos Aires is a beautiful city.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of people don't realize after World War II, Europe was destroyed. Lots of Germans and Italians went to Argentina. So some of the best Italian food I had was in Buenos Aires, which is weird. You wouldn't think that.
Yeah.
Um, but the folks there really nice. The Spanish is spoken with an Italian accent, which has got to be the prettiest Spanish I've
Hmm.
ever heard. Uh, and then there's a town called Neuquén out in the country, and Six, you could relate to this. It's one of those places where you could walk into the river up to your chest and see your feet. Uh, it was
That would be
just
cool.
it was just beautiful, and the people there were really polite. Those two countries in particular are really stuck out at me. And as far as the preps, I have like a standard kit that goes with me in the plane, and there's stuff I can check that I can get away with that I can't carry on. So on my carry-on, I'll take, my little clear first aid kit,
Mhm.
um, my flashlight, some cash, some basic things. I keep photocopies of my passport if I'm going overseas in my duffel bag. So I have my passport in my pocket, but I'll keep them in my backpack, and I'll keep another copy in my suitcase in my checked luggage. And it's just a photocopy, but if something happens and I have to go to the embassy, I have copies. It's very easy for the State Department to pull me up.
Yeah, that's
Um,
a good idea.
Now, I don't know. I haven't tried to bring anything. Obviously, you can't bring a firearm outside the U.S. That's very risky. But
Yeah.
bringing small utility knives, stuff like that, in your checked luggage,
Hmm.
really, it's not going to attract much attention.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But if I remember right, there's a place not too far from here. I think it's in North Carolina or something. It's some kind of pool they call it, but the water's like crystal clear blue. Um,
Yeah.
some
Oh, I
buddies of
heard of that.
ours actually went there on a honeymoon, but I haven't been myself. But the pictures they took and everything, it looked like a real pretty place.
Oh, yeah.
And hello, Flow Grown Homesteader. Good to see you in here, and everybody else that's in here. And
What is your fave thing? Wait, I just had a question. Oh, there it is. It popped up on both screens. Sorry, cat lady. I'm not used to these screens. This stuff popping up everywhere. What is my fave thing to prep on and why? You mean like my disaster or what I'm
yeah,
not
I'm not
sure.
sure if that's a scenario or whether it's a actual item.
Well, I'll tell you what I think is most likely, and it actually was kind of funny. So I'll say that I work for a Fortune 500 company. So before I went that last time to Argentina, I reached out to State Department and told them, hey, I'm going to be in town. I have a business visa for this period of time. And the corporate guys, I was having a beer and a pizza in the patio. Right across from the hotel was like a little river.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden my phone goes off and I look and it's a text from my guys going, there's a riot 2 kilometers from you. Go back to the hotel. And I think I'll take the beer and the pizza to go. And I took my stuff and I just went across the river. So yeah, it's as far as what I prep, when the kids moved out, I started diversifying. So when we had the kids, a lot of what I got, because you get so busy,
Mm-hmm.
was dehydrated food, MREs, canned food, the little staples. Now I'm getting into dehydrating. I've been looking for a water bath canner, which I
Mm-hmm.
cannot find. Eventually, I'm sure I'll find one. A lot of my gear is meant for hiking and outdoors, because even when I'm visiting other countries or other states, I'm going to take some time and walk around and backpack my
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And
Hey,
on the
B.
on the canner, I would recommend getting a pressure canner. You can still water bath style in that, just not,
Oh, yeah,
putting the weight on it. But with the pressure canner, things like meat and stuff, you need the pressure to
that's
can.
true. What's the life expectancy done correctly of canned meats?
Um, we really hadn't done a lot of canned meats. That's something we're just getting into, but me and my wife's family on both sides and grandma and grandpa and all that kind of stuff,
Mm,
they can for years and stuff, vegetables and everything. And that like the company like Ball and stuff will recommend like 2 years, but I mean stuff, some of it 4 and 5 years old are still
yeah,
fine. It's just not as reliable, and
right.
maybe it's not as taste as good, but you could do that. Um, last year we had a pretty good sized garden, which I made it bigger this year, so we can grow more and everything. But we probably put up, a year's worth of garden stuff,
Mm,
supplemented with meat and everything.
yeah,
So we really hadn't got into a whole lot. I wanted to put up a year and then ride that over to this year. So, when we put it up this year, we'll still have a year ahead just of,
right.
stuff we've already grown. So
See,
hopefully that'll work out pretty good.
that's a good idea. And it's funny because where we live now, we're out west in the southwest, and it's super dry, like I told you previously.
Mm-hmm.
So chicken I did 4 years ago, but pressure cook last night. Yummy. Okay, so could be up to 4 years then.
Yeah, I think it's really a thing that it's just a recommend thing, and
Yeah,
being that's done at home and not factory, it could, if everything is done right, last 4 and 5 years, or maybe even more. I don't know, but you
mm,
know how it is.
yeah. No, and that's that would be a good thing. And again, I'm not just prepping for me because I've got my children are grown, but they're young adults.
Mm-hmm.
So I got one son stateside, and the other one's married, but he's on deployment. So his wife's stateside, and he's overseas. And
Mm-hmm.
then I got a grown daughter, like I mentioned earlier. So I got the three, but two of them live in hurricane country. And
Mm-hmm.
so I could see if something happens, I may become the bug out location.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to think of ways to kind of expand what I have.
Mm-hmm.
I've done dry good canning, where you put this O2 absorber and put a vacuum on it, and for
Mm-hmm.
beans and rice. So, but that's a really good idea, man. I need to look into a pressure canner and
Yeah,
just jump straight to that.
that's what I recommend. But yeah, we have a couple. We have a Miro brand and a Presto brand, which is basically the same thing. It's 23 quarts,
I'm
and it
gonna write that
has
down.
the rubber gasket. And I have a really old one I did a video on a while back. It's been sitting in the shed for years. It's an All American brand, and I cleaned it up and restored it and everything. And I ordered a new one, All American. Hopefully it'll come in. It was on back order, so it ain't no telling when I'll get it. But the All
Yeah,
Americans are more expensive, but they're more of a long term thing because they don't
right.
have that rubber gasket. It just sits on there metal to metal and it clamps down. So
Oh, so it's a metal seal.
yeah, it's a metal seal. So
Yeah, that's gonna last a lot longer.
yeah, that's pretty much forever. And I found a website because the old one I had needed a gauge and some other things, and you can
Right.
buy any individual piece to, so you could have, buy a set of clamps and another gauge or whatever you needed like that, so you could run it forever, and never have a problem. Which, I know our family and stuff's had to get the, rubber gasket type and have used them probably, I don't know, 10 years or so before the gasket would go bad. And you can buy extra gaskets and
You could buy
everything. But
replacements, huh?
yeah, I'd rather just have the, metal seal where you can pretty much guarantee that it's going to always be the same. It's not going to be an issue on that. But
Yeah. Well,
it's,
yeah, the metal seal will last longer.
yeah.
Um, what was that? I just missed something here. Favorite
Oral
culture
theft.
music.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm all over the map. If you saw my Amazon Music mix, you'd probably think I was a crazy person. I was a classical bassoonist in an orchestra in my younger days, so I love classical, believe it or not.
hmm.
And then I'll go for a walk and decide I want to listen to Biohazard or Metallica. So
Mm-hmm.
um, depends on what I'm doing and my mood. I kind of enjoy a variety of music. Uh, but yeah, this earlier today was it Avenged Sevenfold, Hail to the King.
Hmm.
And then for some reason, I got into a country mood and I was listening to some of the old Garth Brooks stuff. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, uh, so just saying, if power goes out tomorrow, for good, can you survive there? Can you survive there without power? Oh yeah, up here, no, that wouldn't be a problem at all. When Hurricane Ike hit Houston, we had three small kids at the time, and we were 16 days no power.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the water for the HO for that local subdivision was an old Cold War era subdivision, so I had a generator. So the water we could use, but yeah, we had to entertain three little kids. So basically, it was go outside, and I just made sure they didn't get hurt
Hmm.
once the storm passed, of course.
Yeah. That is a pretty good question, though.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, but yeah, it's been a wild ride this last year, folks. I was telling my man here, if I had told everybody I'm going to write a book that's going to have a pandemic, riots, they're going to take over Portland, they're going to punch each other in the Capitol, and we're going to have food shortages, and oh, then Texas will freeze and the grid will drop. Y'all would have said that's too much, man. You pick a subject, and here we are, almost to the year, isn't it? What are we, March?
Yeah,
Isn't this around when President Trump originally declared the emergency and started shutting things down?
I do believe so. I know it started really hitting in the beginning of March, and everything was,
Yeah,
building up, and everybody was trying to figure it out. So I believe it is about end of
it's been
March,
about,
1st of April, and all that stuff.
yeah,
It's been an eventful year. It's I know it's been bad for a lot of people, and I feel sorry for those that's lost a job and
mhm,
lost people to the virus and things like that. But it's really been a good year. Depends on how you look at it, because it made families draw closer together,
yeah,
and you know people started building mags this year that normally wouldn't have.
yeah. I think I think a lot of folks, if you look at it as a challenge as opposed to some awful thing,
Hmm.
and you start thinking about it, your brain starts working, and you're like, okay, how do I handle this? How do I manage it? Uh, it's a it can bring out the best, like we were talking before the
Hmm.
cast. It can bring out the best. It could bring out the worst in folks. Um, I've encouraged folks, even on my short videos or on Insta, and I'm sure you've seen a few of them,
Hmm.
uh, the mental health, the wellness. Uh, I found, when we're working from home, just because the company said, well, we can fire more people if we just give up the office space and y'all work remotely. Uh, having a schedule, keeping on schedule is good. I still get up at 5:30. I could probably get up at 8 and nobody notice, but
Hmm.
I get up at 5:30. I do throw on my pack and I do my rounds in the morning. Um, I try and maintain a discipline. It kind of keeps me focused and organized.
Hmm.
Uh, and a lot of folks I know who were struggling started doing that, and it started helping them.
Yeah, I understand that. Keeping a routine kind of gives you a sense of normalcy.
Yeah.
It's like, did you watch The Walking Dead? Are you into that?
I watched up until they season 8 or 9. I'm trying to remember which one. And then I got sidetracked, and now I can't remember where I left off. So
Hmm.
I'm afraid to tell you where I left off because I might ruin it for some of the people who are watching it now.
Yeah, I've watched it all the way through, up to the current episode and everything. But, way back in season one, there was a character on there, Dale, the old guy with the RV and stuff. And,
Yes.
even though the world had ended, he still had that pocket watch he wound up every day. When
Yeah.
time didn't matter, he still kept it wound up.
Yeah. It's funny, I mean, there's some things in that show that are silly that y'all would look and go, nah, people don't do that. But they do touch on a lot of human nature stuff. And I think that's what made it such a good series so far.
Yeah, I
I'm a
mean,
couple of seasons behind.
it's a lot of stupid stuff that's just for TV, but if you
Right.
watch it long enough, you can find some lessons in there and things like that. A lot of times when I watch it, I like to, kind of put yourself in that situation, be like, okay, how would I handle that?
Yeah. I don't know if you've noticed, have you seen the short apocalyptic films on YouTube?
I've seen
I
like one or two, but I can't remember the name of it. One of them, I think it was like two brothers in the middle of nowhere in the beginning of it, and something like that. I can't remember, but
I haven't seen that one. I've been finding they're like, I guess they're independent films,
Mm-hmm.
but for whatever they're competing for, it has to be under 30 minutes, so they're really short.
Uh,
And just seeing some of the folks, their angles they come at is pretty neat. I mean, you can learn a lot uh, from fiction, just, the what ifs like we
yeah,
talked about earlier.
that's very true. But yeah, I'm really into The Walking Dead, and I see a bunch of Walking Dead comments on here and stuff. But I was talking to John at Prepper Nation the other day, and I told him that I went ahead and made me a Lucille. This is my version, and this is real barbed wire. This ain't
Yeah,
movie
that
prop.
sure looks like one.
So
Somebody was selling one at a gun show out here. He had different bats. He had a Lucille. He had an Isabel. They were all different from different movies.
hmm,
I was like, that's pretty cool. I actually went to a truck stop. You've stopped at the Flying J's or
mm-hmm.
the Loves, and in the trucker section. By the way, you can get some great preps in like where the truckers have all their gear. Um, they had this tire thumper, and I went, that's a shillelagh. That's not a tire thumper. That's a
Yeah.
whacker. And I actually wound up getting one, and that goes in my pack when I walk around my area, because toward the end of the subdivision is basically nothing but pump jacks back there in farmland.
Mm-hmm.
And there've been coyotes have come up and awooed at me, and I wasn't really cool with a bunch of coyotes. So I figured I might have to thump one on the head. I hope not. So,
Yeah.
but I picked up one of those things. But it's been it's been weird. I when I was a kid, my dad had me in Cub Scouts, right? So from a little age, be prepared, and you had your little compass and your little canteen. I don't know if you were a scout when you were a kid, but when I was little, I guess it was a different age then. My dad gave me a small jungle knife when I turned 9,
Hmm.
and he gave me an old web belt, and he said, "Here's your canteen, here's your compass, here's your knife. That's poison ivy. Don't fall in it, and don't mess with the wasps. They'll sting you. Go play in the
Yeah.
woods."
Yeah.
And,
Well, I wasn't in scouts, but I stayed in the woods a lot when I was a kid because
yeah,
I was actually a homeschool kid, so I could do some schoolwork in the morning and have the rest of the day to
sure,
do
yeah.
all that and be on the farm and everything like that. Hey, Mrs. Prep and Plumber, it's good to see you in here.
Hey,
And
howdy. There's someone
that's
else
good
popped up.
on you,
Oh,
cat lady.
what do
I
you do?
recommend everybody to carry all the time as much
Hmm.
as possible just because you never know when you might need it. That's why you carry it.
Yep. I have a safe built into my truck. I got it from a guy who was transferring overseas, and he sold it to me for $100. And you
Hmm.
and I both know those are way more than that.
Oh
It's the one
yeah.
that goes across the back of the 150 bed,
Yeah.
or the 150 in the back seat,
Mhm.
and that's where I keep my goodies. But yeah, there's always one locked in the back there, plus my carry piece, um, depending. But the Glock's definitely a good choice there, cat lady. Uh,
That's my favorite so far.
I bounce. Normally it's an XDS. Although I don't know if I posted the video yet, but my wife picked up a SIG 365, and I did a shoot off between the XDS and the 365,
I
and I
did see
really
you
like that
talking about
SIG.
that.
I really
Um,
like that SIG. So
that's what my wife went to was the 365. She seemed to like that better than the Glock just because it's smaller and she likes having a safety and stuff. And I was telling you, a buddy of mine had just bought one of those SIG 365. I don't know what you
yeah.
call it, but it's like the snag. It's really sleek. It doesn't have the
Oh,
front and rear sight. It's just got the rear sight that's kind of made into one.
the
And
SAS, it's like all smoothed out.
yeah, I think it is. But I hadn't got to shoot it yet or anything. But that is, as long as it's accurate, that is a really good sight. it's really bright when you look in there, and it's like a
Hmm.
circle with a dot in it and everything. So I really like the
Yep.
site actually.
Well, so the XDS, what I liked about it was the slim profile. Because if I'm in a business suit, I have to watch where I carry. Some companies it's banned, so you have to leave it in the parking lot, or in your vehicle. So being discreet as a traveler is a good thing. But that little XDS is a single stack, so I got 7 or 9 rounds, and the
Mm-hmm.
365 has a 12 or 15. Well, shoot, a 15 round, that's a Glock. That's a
Mm-hmm.
Beretta M9.
Yeah.
And if I'm out in the woods, I carry an M9. I have an old school mil spec Beretta that I
Yeah.
customized a little. So that one I can drive nails with.
Usually, if I'm going out somewhere or whatever, or when we go to church and stuff, I usually carry the 48 with the Shield Arms mags just because it's a little bit
Hmm.
thinner. Normally, day to day, I'll carry the Glock 17. I like having the
Yeah,
light on it and the fit of it and everything like that. But 48 is so concealable, and I use that doing stuff like that.
I did like the 48. I tried one, and I gotta admit, I really liked it. But Mama's gonna test shoot that 365, but she got the XL, so it's slightly longer
Hmm.
barrel, and so it's basically, I guess, like the 48. But a six shooter should have merch. You should.
I do have a Teespring, but they don't have Lucille's on there, so.
Oh, well, you could put them. You could do it through Etsy.
Yeah, I hadn't gotten into that, but that's a good idea.
Yeah, because I don't think you have to pay very much for that.
Hmm.
You don't want to do it through Amazon because then you have to pay, and then it just gets silly. You could even
Yeah.
sign them, man, like one of 300 Lucille's.
Yeah, that would be cool. The only thing about the Lucille is I might get hit with a trademark,
Oh, that's
copyright.
true. Oh, you'd have to give it a new
Lucy.
name,
Lucy.
Lucy. Well, don't call it Sancha because that's like the other woman, and that'll upset somebody.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. Hey, Papa Prepper, good to see you in here. Hope you're
Hey,
doing
Papa,
good
what's going
tonight.
on? You've been crazy busy, man.
Yeah, he has.
Well, that's a good thing, though. That is a good thing nowadays, for sure. But yeah, no, it's been a weird ride. The whole I had dated a Lucy once. She had a lot of dangerous spikes too. Oh,
I thought that was pretty funny.
oh, that's bad. I won't make any comments about that. That's just rough, man.
Yeah.
But I don't know about y'all, but has your evolution in prepping been, because some people say it's like a curve, like they just, and to me it's been like steps. Like, as a little boy,
Mhm.
the scout, and then, you know, I got caught in a blizzard upstate because I went to school upstate near upstate New York, and I learned something that weekend. And you keep these little steps, and you keep going up and learning more
Yeah.
as you go. Have you found you're the same way? Like something will
It's
happen, and
It's definitely steps, that's a good way to put it, or, like leveling up or something like
Mhm.
that. But, I started prepping a little bit a couple years ago, but wasn't really serious into it until, everything come up early 2020 and stuff. And, me and my wife basically, went straight from that into homestead. And it's like, we need to be able to produce our own in case things don't come back, or in case it's just inflated
Yeah,
so much you can't afford to buy it. So we really got into the homestead and kind of like insurance, And the thing about that is a lot of people will take and build a homestead over years, and we done it in less than a year. In
yeah.
less than a year, we started, with the normal prep stuff, some food storage and everything like that. But we didn't even have chickens until like either late February or beginning March when it was, and started that, and we added on
Oh
with
no.
that a couple times, and we did the garden in throughout the summer, and we had the hogs that we raised, and all the garden raising, and you know cannon and everything comes with that. And then later on in the summer, we got the goats and added them. We started with one, and something ended up getting to it and killing it.
Oh,
And then we got two after that, and then we added another one probably a month after that, and then we got a couple more now and everything. So we just kind of basically dove in, and with the hogs, we salt it down and smoke it the old-fashioned way. So I had to build a
yeah.
smokehouse, and then built a
It's like
greenhouse, and
things kept adding up as you as you got into a new
and
thing.
it really got to the point to where when you did have everything called up, you kind of felt like you didn't know what to do, because I'm good getting in a working rhythm like that. It's like when I want to
Right.
hit something, I'm wide open, and then when it's done, it's like, okay, now what? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're in that mode to go, but there's
Hmm.
nowhere to go, so you're kind of in this weird holding pattern,
Yeah,
waiting.
because when we jumped into all that, it was kind of putting your mind in
Mhm.
survival mode, and
Yeah.
then then it's like, what do we do now?
And I gotta tell you, like I said, Hurricane Harvey was our seventh or eighth hurricane as a family. And it's the last one the kids had while they were still at home. And, it was funny because we'd had Ike not 10 years ago. I learned something new every day. Always been one to be stocked up on stuff and all that. Yeah, no, that's Jeep Girl. That's a definitely a smart thing because the whole grid going down the way it did. Um, and again, I've always been a fan of Texas having its own grid. That goes back to World War II, actually. But the the fact that it went down, and then what was it in '05? It was just after Katrina. Didn't the Northeast grid go down, like from Ohio all the way to New York City? And they were in the dark for
I
like 4
honestly don't
days.
remember.
And that was a cascading failure. It wasn't. It was human error combined with a plant. One of the transfer stations had a mechanical fault, and they
Hmm.
didn't reroute fast enough, and the whole thing came down. But it was about 5 states, and then California in 2012 with those guys with the high-powered rifles trying to take out the Pacific Transformers. I don't know if
I
you
remember
remember
that.
that.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And the Department of Energy got hacked earlier this year or last year, actually.
Hmm.
So, it was kind of telling to watch the Texas grid come down that way, especially being an energy guy.
That's what caught a lot of people off guard, being Texas being its separate thing,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden Texas is down, and everybody's like, "What?"
Oh, yeah. And there were a few things that were mistaken. So we have really big wind farms out here. People may not realize it, but they've got some massive wind farms here and on the coast. Um, they weren't designed for that cold. And what we
Hmm.
had was it was cold, it rained, it froze, then it snowed, it melted a little bit, froze again, then snowed more, and all those windmills locked up.
Yeah,
At, at the same time, the solar panels to the west, between going from Texas to New Mexico, got covered in snow and ice, so they were useless. And then one of the nuke plants had a valve fail because of the cold. And so
hmm
one of the 5 plants went down. And it all happened within 48 hours. It's kind of scary when you think that they reported what the grid was about 5.5 minutes away from completely
yeah.
going down the toilet for 2 weeks.
It was a big domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm glad it didn't, but I remember hearing a bunch of rumors that back election season that some other countries was going to hit us with an EMP, but luckily that was just rumors because
Yeah,
with as crazy as the election was to begin with, you throw an EMP in, man, that'd be rough.
that's one of those things that scares the heck out of me. Is
Oh yeah, EMP. I mean, in a matter of seconds, you go back to the 1800s real
oh yeah,
quick.
and even if the vehicles are still working, you're not going to be able to get the gas out of the ground from the tanks.
Yep, that's
Um,
exactly right. You're on borrowed time.
mhm. That's a frightening thought. What book was it? Was it John Wesley Rawls, Patriots? Was that the premise of that one?
I'm not sure.
I can't remember. It
There
was a
was
book I
a
read.
show on Netflix, I think Jericho. I think that was an
Yes,
EMP.
yeah, that one. No, that was Nukes. That was
Nukes.
Suitcase Nukes
Yeah, that's right. That was Nukes.
in the cities. That was a great series, by the way.
I hadn't
Um,
watched it all. I watched some of it and then I kind of forgot about it and never went back to it yet. But
yeah.
it was was another one. I think that was EMP, but it had Forrest Whitaker in it. It was a Netflix. Maybe The Road was it called? Maybe
No,
or
it's
something.
This Is How It Ends or How It
Yeah,
Ends.
this is how it ends.
It's
But
when the young man is dating Whitaker's daughter, and
yeah,
they're trying to go across the country to retrieve her.
yeah,
Yeah, that one
that
was a
was a
solar
pretty.
flare.
It
I
was
don't
something
remember.
like that, but it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, but it's scary, when you think about how fragile the systems are.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
Gene Roddenberry, huh? Go ahead.
around here, we usually don't have a lot of problem, but a lot of times in the summer we'll get a thunderstorm or bunch of rain and get some wind up or something. And around here, there's just so many trees around the power lines, and that's what we got in this ice storm a month ago or
Yeah.
whatever. Is all the ice and stuff just broke trees and tore down lines everywhere because we were Virginia was in the high percentage. It was like next to the top of the most power outages and stuff. But
Oh wow.
I've always said, that there ought to be a law that you can't have a tree within 100 foot of a power line, and that would stop so much of that. And the same
Mhm.
way with highways, a lot of
Yeah.
wrecks are, black ice, and that comes from the sun not being able to hit the road, with trees around, things like that. So I think that
Well,
that would be a good idea, but
yeah. Houston, depending on where you lived, your power lines were all above ground. And that was another problem with the grid going down. My dad had a defibrillator. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, brother.
yeah,
Is he home from the hospital yet, or?
I don't know if he is or not, but I did hear earlier that he had done, it went through okay and everything like that.
Okay, good.
Me and Orville and his dad and stuff is real close, and we prayed for him a lot Sunday, so
All
we
right.
knew he
Well,
was gonna be okay. He was just a little bit, scared, which anybody would be in that
yeah.
situation, but
Okay, so he is home, it looks like. So we'll keep
mhm.
you in our prayers over here, but um, that's I remember when my dad was having issues when he was still with us, and that yeah, it's weird to have your old man get sick all of a sudden. It's uh, I'll keep you all in my prayers for
Yeah.
sure.
It was about 2 years ago or now, my dad had a stroke and, he's in his 50s, he's almost 60 now, but he was like 56 or 7, I think, and,
It's not that old.
had a stroke, so, yeah, they said it was really old for that, but, he's been a smoker all his life and
Mm.
doesn't really take care of himself the best in the world, but, he quit smoking the day he went in the hospital. They said, "If you keep smoking, you're gonna die," so he put him down real quick.
True story. My dad, when he had his heart attack, he's in the hospital, and he was a 4-pack-a-day smoker.
Mhm,
And what's funny, other than the occasional cigar, I don't smoke, and neither does my brother.
mhm.
And my sister and I went to help tend family affairs while he was laid up. And we go to the hospital, and he goes, "Oh, well, they told me I can't smoke, but, I'll make that decision myself." As my dad being,
Yeah.
if you've never been around old Puerto Rican dads, they're very set in their ways. And I'm sure my kids will say the same about me. So I went to his doctor, who is from India, and I said, "Hey, doc, my dad's saying, oh, well, I'd like cigarettes." And he's not listening to us. And he did the same thing. He goes in there, and he had a thick accent. He goes, "Mr. Rodriguez, if you continue to smoke, you will pass away." And my sister goes, and she runs out laughing from the room. And yeah, he stopped smoking then, but the doctor came out with a big smile on his face. He said, "I think I've conveyed a proper message." He walked. But yeah,
Sometimes you just got to be blunt.
sometimes, man, we get dug in. It's just it's part of the culture. Well, I guess anybody get dug in, especially as you
Yeah.
become an old man. I'm half a pack, and everyone rides me for half a pack. Oh yeah, no, be charming. Yes, 4 packs a day. Um, I was mischievous too. The engineer brain going on. So I'd take his cigarettes and flip them around, and he
Hmm.
wouldn't even look. He'd pop it and he'd take it out. And one day he lit the filter, almost set the whole pack on fire. And I got run out of the apartment for that one. But yeah, I grew up in New York City, so that was a lot of smoke in an apartment. So I
especially
don't see it around the kids.
especially back in those days, that was
Mhm.
a cool thing to do or whatever everybody went to,
Mhm.
where now everybody's vaping and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. The vaping stuff. I know my son. Well, both my sons are soldiers, and when the younger brother was on deployment, he came back and he handed me his vape. And I said, "Well, what am I going to do with this?" He said, "I've been vaping too much to stay up on night watch, so hold on to it for me." And then he went through a bottle of my Jack. So I guess he earned that bottle, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But
Well, I haven't said it yet, but thank y'all for your service.
well, thank you, brother. And the boys and their buddies are the real heroes. Uh, everything I did was domestic. My brother went downrange 6, 7 times,
Hmm.
and both my sons now have one deployment in their belts.
Yeah.
All my stuff was domestic. I was blessed to see the good side of the uniform, where I
Yeah.
was helping my fellow Texans and distributing food and helping in field hospitals. So, I got to see a lot of good. Um,
Hmm.
a lot of the guys in my family, they didn't get to see. They saw the ugly, and
Yeah.
they come back a little bit wound up. But I'm blessed. I got them all home, and God's willing, I'll get them all home for Christmas.
Yeah.
And the wives and girlfriends. So we'll have a big old party here in Texas, I guess.
Yeah.
We,
That'll be
we might
good.
live stream a little of that. I'll text you, "Hey man, we're all
Yeah,
here."
that'd be cool. Definitely do that.
But one thing for all of y'all, especially the new preppers, or if you run across new preppers, to all of you watching, tell them not to get discouraged. I've been reached out to. I don't know if you've had this happen to you, and they'll post things like, "Y'all have so much stuff or knowledge, and I can't keep up," and they start getting down. And I know Rogue Preparedness had gone on at one point and said, "Look, guys, it's a journey."
Hmm.
Now, what you did, DJ, you did that quick. I mean, you homesteaded from 0 to 60 in what,
Yeah.
18 months?
Yeah, it was well, really less than a year. It was about 11 months.
Wow.
So, we really hit that hard cuz like I said, we didn't really know exactly where it was going to go, and we got the stimulus stuff, it's like what better thing to do with it. I know a lot of people had to pay, bills and everything with it. And lucky we didn't have any layoffs or anything like that. I
Amen.
work in the logging business, and we kept on going because we're on a small crew. It's only like four of us in the woods, and the all the material that it makes is essential. With
Yeah.
the paper and lumber and everything like that. And that was another thing I was telling somebody else, that nobody I know of shut down. All the
Nope.
mills were, they wasn't lacking for wood. They wasn't completely full, but they was a steady pace like normal, and they were shipping it out. So lumber is being made. It's no reason for it to be so much more expensive now than it was a year ago, because nothing on the wood side stopped. So,
I wonder if it's on the fuel side,
well, I
or
mean,
is it more
it's
recent, or has it been a while?
from pretty much when we started homesteading last year, when
Right.
2x4s were like $2 or $3 a
Yeah, they're
piece,
a
they were
couple of
like
bucks.
$7 a piece.
Oh,
The
I haven't bought 2x4s in a hot minute. I may need to go and look.
Yeah, definitely. So the treated 4x4s I bought for the um like the corner poles in the
Yeah.
smokehouse and stuff, they were like 12, or I mean, I may be wrong. It may have been higher than that, but they were outrageous, you know, for
That's
the
crazy.
price of lumber.
And this is all domestic stuff, so it's not like shipping the wood overseas and then like China
Yeah,
makes two
this
by
is
fours and comes back, right? This is
yeah,
here.
this is right here at home, because the plyboard, the cheap stuff, like 3/8 thick or whatever,
Yeah.
is usually made by Georgia Pacific, which we have one local in our area, and they're local to the United States and everything like that.
Oh yeah, we got them
And
out here too.
yeah, and I mean they're like $50 a sheet.
Oh wow.
That was one of the bigger challenges of doing all the homestead stuff this year, and
Yeah.
fencing stuff was so expensive.
I'll be honest with you. That's me again because of the work. I've wound up
Mhm.
in subdivision, so you can't. Well, you can have chickens, but they may write you up.
Yeah.
It becomes a problem. I've had neighbors that had like a clutch of rabbits, and that's it. But
Yeah.
um,
I
what
know a
you
lot of
can,
people living in places like that will have maybe like 2 or 3 chickens and no rooster, so they're a little more quiet and things like
yeah,
that.
and that may be a route I go. We're looking ahead for the
Mhm.
next property. We're thinking of buying a little plot of ranch land somewhere here in Texas. We also been looking at Louisiana, Oklahoma. We like all three states,
Mhm.
and they're all preparedness friendly. They're all gun friendly, and they're not offended by people who go to church. So
Yeah.
I'm
A bud
okay with states like that.
a buddy of mine, we're really close. We really me and Orville both started met him and everything back in, I think it was June or July last year, and he come down and taught us some tactical things because that was kind of his
Mm,
field and things like that. And later on for the last few months now, me and him got together every day once. I mean, once a week,
right.
and did workout and things like that. So we got real close. But he ended up quitting his job up here and moved to Oklahoma. So he liked it down there, and the
Yeah.
atmosphere that they had, and he was going down there with a bunch that he was close with that were they all preppers and homesteaders, and they have a big tribe and things, and that's what he was looking for, so he went down there. And they said, I follow him on he's got a YouTube channel, Patreon too. He said, up here in Virginia, places that you go are about half and half on wearing masks. We have a
Yeah.
mandate, but some people don't. And he said when he went out there, it's like if you seen one person wearing a mask, it was odd. They
Yeah.
basically threw that out the window, and it said it's a whole different atmosphere down there.
Yeah. I think I see it more here out west because of the companies. The company's safety guy will say, "Well, we'll follow CDC." So all the
Mhm.
oil hands and the line guys and the ones who work on the turbines and pretty much everyone in the energy sector, whether it's solar, wind, or oil, they'll wear the mask because the safety guy says, "Well, the lawyer said we have to do it." So it's not uncommon.
Mhm.
There's one crew in my company. They have their crews called the Banditos, which is just funny, and they have banditos painted on their truck, and then they all had this bandanas like the banditos of the old west movies.
Mhm.
And roaming pressure, are you bugging in or out? That depends on what happens. For Hurricane Ike and Harvey, I bugged in. For Rita, we thought it would be really bad, and we bugged out and got caught on the highway
Mm.
and in south side of Houston. And we were in two vehicles, and someone tried to run my wife off the road, and that fellow almost got shot by her and
Wow.
me.
Yeah.
Um, After that, we got to her uncle's house down by Corpus Christi, and we agreed we'd not bug out again, and unless we had water coming in the house. But I say that now, obviously, if a tornado, God forbid, hit me,
Appreciate you
I'd be in
coming in
trouble.
here, B. Charming, and we'll
Hey,
catch you later.
B, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you coming in. Yeah, if it was bad, obviously we'd have to go. A lot of it depends on the circumstance. I would say I'll bug in as long as I can until I have
Mhm.
no choice but to go somewhere.
That's
What we
generally the best option.
stay off the roads because as a guy who's deployed on the other side, the less civilians are on the road in an emergency, it makes the life of the responders way
Mhm.
easier. I mean, I don't do it anymore, but if we've got emergency vehicles or convoys and we're trying to do traffic control, and a soccer mom shows up and she or a dad with a bunch of yelling kids and they're fighting in the car. Hey, shorty.
Good to
Hey,
see you.
uh, it uh it makes the life of the responders a lot more difficult. it's
Mhm.
it's always best stay off the road unless you have no choice, and then go. You get hit by a tornado, yeah, your house may be damaged, you may have to leave. So
Yeah.
be prepared to do that if you have to.
Yeah, luckily, where I'm at, it's a very, very bad situation to bug out because, we live rural and, we lived here all our life. So we know everybody around and who's a problem, who's not. We're in a pretty good area. We're not around,
Yeah,
the biggest thing we have to worry about here is tornadoes because we're not in hurricane country or, you know,
yeah, out
things like
here.
that. And it's not too common on a tornado here. I mean, a lot of times we'll have a warning or something, but it won't touch down, thank God.
Yeah,
Because we're in, around here we got a lot of like hills and things like that. It's not completely flat. So a lot of times we don't if it does touch down, it's only in a small area that it affects.
you're kind of on the tail end of the Appalachian Mountains, aren't you?
The foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Okay, so that the
Yep.
whole Appalachian chain. But you're on
Yeah.
further south than I used to. I was up there by Canada and whatnot, going up and down those big mountains
Yeah.
and dropping stuff down and then having to go get it. But when it's time to go, besides weather, um, chemical spills. Uh, place like Houston, all those refineries there. Scary scenario: an accident or something deliberate cracks open a chlorine tank with 20,000 gallons of chlorine that suddenly becomes a vapor. Uh,
Mhm.
you you either have to hunker down quick or you have to bug out. Uh, I guess, or I don't know. I guess a riot. You can go through scenarios. A riot, bad enough, but at least my subdivision, good Lord, it's all country folk and hunters, and we have about half a dozen police officers, and I know there's at least 5 or 6 military guys who are a lot scarier than me. So yeah, I think coming to the hit, I ain't running if they come. I'll go meet cheese. One thing I would recommend y'all, the loose leaf binders with the page protectors we used to
Mhm.
use when we were in school. I made photocopies of everything, and then I put the originals in envelopes and I put them in this binder. So God forbid we do have to bug out while one of us is packing, food, clothes, whatever. We already got the backpacks kind of laid out and set up. I can grab those 3 books, stick them in a suitcase or in a duffel bag,
Mhm.
and we get out. And when we come back, I have all the numbers for insurance, a little cash, credit card, the whole 9 yards. So y'all may want to consider setting up a bug out book, if you will. And that's probably a good topic for my next video.
Yeah, it will
uh,
be, and that's something I actually need to do too. I hadn't done that. I've seen a lot of different people talk about it and stuff about having all your documents together and things, but I
yeah.
hadn't done that yet.
And I did it in pieces. And then when Ike hit, we took some damage, and I couldn't find anything. and I got agitated, and I said, okay,
Yeah.
I obviously didn't do this right. And that was one of those steps I took where I thought I was prepped, and then something unexpected happened, and I went, that really agitates me. So, uh, being an engineer, I'm very technical, and I was like, that that failed. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So then I started writing a list of what I needed to do, and I made a book. I actually have two. One has all the insurance papers, and
Mm-hmm.
then the other one has personal documents, passports, which I don't carry with me every day, but photocopies of social security cards and stuff like that. It's in the safe, but it takes me 60 seconds to get it out, and
Yeah.
we can be out the door.
That is a good idea.
So, and it's something you can do with the family. The kids can even contribute a little page or two with things they think are important. Even a list of phone numbers of friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
Because our cell phones, we've gotten so used to, call Joe, call Tom.
Yeah.
But if someone asks you what's Tom's number, you stare a deer in the headlights. So,
Pretty much. I'm lucky to even remember my own phone number, much less anybody else, because with it being saved in there as contacts, you don't do it anymore.
I got two, the company and mine. Well, they're both
Hmm.
technically mine, but my personal number, only a few people at the company have. I don't want them bugging me on Saturday or something.
Yep.
But yeah, no, there's a lot of little things, and you know, trying to help other folks out when we can. If we could teach everyone in our neighborhood to have, what was I saying, 72 hours of grits?
Hmm.
A lot of the panic you saw during COVID, or I saw during Harvey, you wouldn't see as much, because people would at least be able to hunker down for a day or two and catch their breath, get their bearings before they go out. And you
Mm.
wouldn't see, people punching each other for toilet paper. Good Lord.
I never could understand that, but
It didn't surprise me. They punch each other for Christmas. Let's celebrate
oh
the
yeah,
Prince of Peace by fighting in Walmart. That just, I don't know.
that's that's another reason I don't like the built up areas. It's just,
Hmm.
I mean, you don't have that drama right here.
No, that's one of the reasons I left New York when I was a younger fella, and I moved to Texas. And I've been bouncing around the South since. Uh, that
The
many
thing
people.
about it, if you were in a built up area like that, like we were talking about earlier, New York and stuff like that, it seems to me that you would have more bug out scenarios than you would bug
Yeah.
in that situation.
Hmm.
And you would have to leave very quick, to beat everybody else, or like you were saying earlier, you're going to get
Yeah.
caught on the road and you're not going to make it out. And
Right.
I like I said, I live out here rural, and it's hard to imagine being in a situation like that you have to grab everything and leave in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. I listen to the Angry Prepper, and I get a kick out of him because I had firefighter buddies in New York when I lived there, and they're the same way. None of them have a filter. They just say
Hmm.
what's in their heart. But that's a tough situation, him and his group, because he has a group prepper group down in New York, because you have limited space in your apartment, and there are
Hmm.
people above you, below you. One of them makes a mistake, they can burn down half the building. And so you have all these variables that you can't control. Whereas, even though I'm in a subdivision with a yard, if we're locked down, I can still sit in my backyard and have a drink,
Yeah.
and see the sun. Y'all can walk in the woods, I'm sure, for acres and acres, and
Yeah.
nobody's going to mess with you. Um, the cities have a whole separate challenge. During the freeze, like I told you before the cast, my daughter looked out the window of the apartment, and she said, Dad, out of 80 units, I saw 5 that had any kind of light, a candle, a lantern, a flashlight. She said they were walking around in the dark in -5 degrees.
Yeah.
People were falling down the stairs because they couldn't see, and she said it was a disaster.
Yeah.
And And she said it's only been 2.5 years since Harvey, and they learned. It looks like
Nothing.
80% of the people learned nothing.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's bad, but you always see every time they have a hurricane like that, they'll have this one guy on TV, I
Mhm.
guess we'll rebuild. And they, that's it. They don't prep for next time or find a better
Yeah.
location or anything like that. It just, oh, it won't happen again. And it does.
No. And I'd mentioned to you, my brother's a retired Navy chief, and he's a big prepper too. I don't know if he's going to start a channel, but he and I are
Mhm.
always running scenarios, right? That wargaming thing. And he told me, he said, in his mind, the zombies in the movies are a symbol of the panicked public. Uh, oh, when we had that tornado of the week, I think everything. Oh, you got your animals into a bunker. Okay, that's impressive.
Yeah, it really is.
I can barely get my corgi into her kennel. She runs off on me. I have to chase her around the house. By the way, if y'all think those little dogs with little legs are slow, oh no. Oh no. That's a herding dog. Well, if you ever want to borrow a corgi and run those goats around, I'm sure she'll have a blast doing that.
Oh, yeah. Might have to one day.
I'm telling you, what about comms preps? Right now, that one's on my list. So I still have, well, aside from the cell phone, I still have my FirstNet phone, which is the that first responder network.
Mhm.
Because I'm still on the roster technically. So if they pinch back the civilian phones, mine should still go through. But of course, if all the cells go down, then I'm kind of hosed. Right now, I'm down to FRS radios.
Mhm.
On my list this year is to get a ham if I can find the time and the equipment to do it. Um, because I'd like to be able, if nothing else, to listen further out than
Yeah.
a couple of miles from where I'm at. Now, for y'all, if you don't have time for a ham, I've seen available online. It's I don't remember if it's Eaton, ETON makes it, but it's a shortwave slash AM FM slash NOAA. So you can listen to the ham radios, you just can't transmit. And
Yeah.
that might be my first purchase. It's still better. At least you can hear what's going on, even if you can't communicate.
Mhm.
Uh, that'd be better than not having any awareness of what's going on around you. But
Yeah.
yeah, still working on the comm side.
On my end of that, I went CB instead of ham. Um, just because you don't have to worry about the license and
Yeah.
things like that, and the others in the group have CB and everything, so kind of where we can do our own thing. And it's still a lot of people on there, so you'll be able to listen in different places and
Oh yeah.
see what's going on and everything. But we'll be able to kind of talk back and forth to the group and kind of get everybody on the same page.
That's definitely good. I had a CB mounted in my old truck, and I have the CB in a bin, which does me no good in there. Uh, but I haven't gotten around to mounting it in the new truck yet. But it did come in handy when I got caught in storms doing field sales calls or going out to visit the locations.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you get in some weather, you pull into a gas station, you pop on the radio, and you could just sit there and listen.
Yeah.
But world without rule of law. Oh, hey, glad you made it. CB's awesome. Oh yeah, listening to truckers probably saved my butt. I got caught in a blizzard going from New York to upstate, from the city to upstate, uh,
Mm-hmm.
for college, and I was a guardsman then, so I had all my stuff in the back. But I got caught in a blizzard, and I had this broken CB. It was awful, man. You needed to like use a tool to turn the knob, and um, but I heard them say, "Hey, those plow trucks are headed to McDonald's," and so I pulled in the McDonald's. I found the plow trucks, and I
Mm-hmm.
asked them where they were going. They said, "Oh, we're going to Buffalo, so you have to go north to Syracuse and then cut east." I followed them for 4 hours at 35 miles an hour. I figured if
Yeah.
one of them went off the mountain, I would just stop.
Yeah.
But I talked to those guys on the CB all the way up there. So that's a good thought, man. I really need to reinstall that CB.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got one in my vehicles, and then I've got a base station here at, the house. So kind of like a home base setup.
How did you mount your antenna? Did you run it through the wall and to the outside, or?
Yeah, on the base station I did.
Yeah.
I've got it on a wooden pole, and then it's on a metal pole that's, at the top of the wooden pole. So I need to measure it, but I think it's about 30 or 30 some feet. My buddy that's really into radio said that I need to have
Oh
it
wow.
36 feet. So I'm
In
not
the air.
sure. Yeah, in the air. For the local, you know,
Right.
airway and things. And he said, I forgot, I think it's like 60 feet is when you really get up there and pick up like state to skip and stuff.
Oh
So
wow.
I've got it, just set up for the local right
I
now and
wonder how
everything.
high I could get it before they write me up out here.
I'm not sure.
I could do it in the back of the house because nobody'd really care.
Hmm.
Um, I've run into multiple people who I watch them at Sam's or the local store, and the way they're shopping, I'm like, you're a prepper because you have things I would have if I were you right now, you know?
You can pick up on it. It's the same
Mhm.
way with concealed carry, and once you start doing that, you can spot other people that do it.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because just in conversation this last year, I found out guys I've worked with, man, a decade. And one of them looked at me and said, "You sound a little bit like a prepper." I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I'm not a tinfoil hat guy, but I have been through some stuff."
Yeah.
And he said, "Man, I've been doing it for years. I had no idea anyone else in the company did it." And so there are about 5 or 6 of us now that when the freeze happened, people lost their
Hmm.
lights. And we were texting back and forth, "Hey, has anyone heard from so and so? Is his wife okay? Did she make it home? This guy need milk because he has little kids?" And we kind of kept an eye on each other, so it was nice. Six personal bodyguards. You sound like Bill de Blasio from New York, man. Take the guns away from the people, but I have a security team.
That's it. That's what they all do. But yeah, without rule of law, what kind of range do I get with the base? I really haven't had time to play on it a whole lot, but I can talk about 30 miles with no problem. To somebody else that has a good radio setup, it's a couple of them I talk to every now and then. It's got base stations, and we're about 30 miles apart. And I also I have one vertical antenna, and then on that it's a horizontal where you have the beam and a turner, so you can actually turn it to certain directions. Like if you have somebody in a certain state you're trying to talk to, and you can just point towards them, and it gets the signal more focused. So I hadn't really got into that a lot, but actually, when I was growing up, my dad was really into CBs, and that was actually his base station. It's not his antenna. He kept that, and he also had a set of nice beams that he used to talk a lot to other states and out to ships in the ocean and things like that on it. But he sold those, and he kept the vertical. But I ended up, my buddy that's into radios and stuff, he built this antenna for me. So that's what I'm using at the moment. But that was his radio and stuff that he talked on when I was a kid.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool, man. It's neat to have stuff from your old man as an adult. You could show your kids, "Hey, my dad gave me this."
Mm-hmm.
But no, that's actually a really good idea. You know, you touched on something there. It's not having to go through the license. I'm sure the FCC has better things to do than worry about, guys like us. But
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the those ham radios, the Baofengs. Where are those built?
I'm not sure, but my buddy, he's really into radios. I mean, he fixes CBs and tunes them and the whole 9 yards. He's a ham operator and everything too.
Right.
And he said that more or less the FCC has stepped back from monitoring the ham guys, and they kind of police themselves. If you get on there and you're not on your P's and Q's. I mean, they drop the hammer on you, the
Yeah.
other ham operators. He said a while back it was something that he didn't say right or didn't do right, and they tried to come down on him, and he ended up having to back it up with like rules or whatever and stuff. But
Oh
he
wow.
said that the ham guys are really strict on it. They police theirself, where the CB is kind of anything goes, more or less. I mean,
Yeah.
the FCC has rules, but they don't really
Right.
enforce them unless you really make somebody mad.
Yeah. Well, if you're being, and then that's contrary to Gray Man. If you're making a big old scene,
Hmm.
you're just attracting attention to yourself, which is, ill-advised generally. I've
Yeah.
been pondering the GMRS radios, but I don't know enough about them yet to
Hmm.
really pull the trigger if I want to get some or not, because it's a license, not a license. It's a fee.
Yeah,
Like you pay what, $50 and
I think so.
that's it.
I've seen those, but like I said, I didn't get into that. But yeah, Papa, we appreciate you coming in here. You have a good night,
Hey man,
and
take care
we'll
of
catch you
yourself,
next
man.
time. But yeah, on that, like I said, I just went the CB route because, like I said, I get the home set up and vehicles, and you can get
Yeah,
handheld CBs for out doing whatever and things like that, and it's no license. And a lot of people will say that they don't like CB because it's not secure, and it is and it ain't. I mean, you can buy the cheap radios that's regular 40,
right,
or you can buy the higher ends that have the different bands, the upper and lower and side band and things like
right,
that. And then you get into the other, radios like the bass and the other ones I got in the truck. They have like half channels, certain ones that you
oh
can
wow,
go like half frequencies and stuff.
right.
Like I said, if I could get my buddy on here, he knows all that radio stuff that's over my head. I just listen to what he say, but
That would be a great live stream, is to do like a how-to of radio,
yeah,
the
I
different
mean,
types.
he's older than I am, but he's been in it all his life, so he knows his stuff.
Yeah,
And on that, the regular standard 40, I think he knows where it begins and ends on the bands, but it's like
right,
27 something megahertz, and your last channel has a 5 on it for the normal. And if you drop the dial down to where it's a 0, you're in like a half channel. So it's
right,
kind of, I mean, you can kind of secure yourself on it because most people have a regular standard 40, radio,
right.
and you can really, you kind of be to yourself running those half channels. And of course, sideband and stuff too, it's not a
Right.
lot of people run sideband.
I need to read up a little more on that. I'm glad Reverend Orville brought that up, because that's something
Mhm.
I need to. I really need to upgrade a little bit. You kind of take for granted your environment,
Mhm.
and there's going to be some future videos where you're going to see me physically go into this new area I've been in for what, not even a year and year and a half, and most of it we were shut down.
Mhm.
And I was running drilling rigs the other day, and I kind of stopped at a corner store to get some snacks, and I looked around and I said, there is no water here. Uh, a lot of good a water filter do you can't find anything to filter.
Yeah,
So, and
that's true.
that kind of spawned the whole idea of one of my videos, was just how do you adapt?
Yeah.
And I think that's important for all the preppers to keep in mind. If you come up short, don't get frustrated. Um, Try to adapt to where you came up short. Just this conversation, I'm realizing the comms game, I'm going to need to upgrade a bit.
Yeah, it hasn't been very long ago, a couple months or something that I had CBs and stuff a while back, and we hunted on CBs and things like that. So then I had some radios crap out on me and everything. I didn't
Hmm.
replace them and all that. So it was really just a couple months ago that I got, my setup back up and running and things like that. But Joanne, on the greenhouse, it's still a learning experience. I made a video the other day. The plants are looking a bit better now. I've been running the propane at night and cutting it off during the day, and opening the door and venting it out more. It's being warmer now, and I added some smaller vents in the around the bottom of the greenhouse. So even when I have the heat on at night, I'll have one or two of them open to kind of get more oxygen in there, because it was kind of seeming like maybe that was my trouble. So hopefully we can get it under control and figure it out. But like I said, I've grew a lot of stuff in gardens before, but this was the first year doing the greenhouse, so it's
Yeah.
pretty much brand new to it and things like that. And usually the first year of doing anything, you really don't know what you're doing. You learn a whole lot. The same way with slaughtering the hogs ourselves and stuff. We did it, but it was a lot of things that we figured out, throughout the process that kind of worked better than others, and kind of get a better setup and more used to it, and get the feel for it, really. So
How big is your greenhouse right now, dimension wise?
I honestly couldn't tell you, because I don't really measure things. Same way with the garden and stuff. But we built it out of pallets, and it's 3 pallets across on the back, and it's 4 pallets, coming long ways. And I think the pallets are about 4 foot apiece, so that gives you an idea. And we did
Okay,
cattle panel hoops and covered it with plastic. So
well, that's neat. That's very discreet too, because it doesn't stand out. Well, my uncle had a massive greenhouse. He was a doctor, right? So he had this big fancy greenhouse, and then a windstorm came and blew all
mhm.
the stuff out of the windows on the top. And he was pretty furious. I was like, you should have gotten a little more manageable. That's was a lot, but
Yeah,
he was known for that. No, that's.
I
I'm
really like
hoping.
the greenhouse. It's one of my favorite things to do, because I like growing stuff anyway. But trying to run the heaters and stuff, and I wanted to grow all throughout the winter and still be able to have vegetables and stuff, which didn't really work out this year. Maybe next year we'll have it more nailed down. But as far as when it gets all right, Orville, glad to see you
Hey,
here, and we'll catch you next time.
yeah,
But
have a good evening, Orville. Take care. It was good to chat with you.
as far as the greenhouse goes, if you just didn't use any heat in it, just used it for what it is, for starting seeds, or maybe
Right,
getting a little bit longer through the growing when it's still pretty warm, but you do run into frost and stuff, it
right.
would probably work really good, because when the sun is out and hitting it, even when it's like 40 degrees
It warms
outside,
up.
it'll be 60 or 70 in the greenhouse just from the sunlight. So if you used it for starting seeds or maybe growing a little bit later in the year, it worked good.
Right.
But I wanted to do it heated and be able to grow, year round, through the winter. December, you can go in there and get a fresh tomato, but we hadn't quite got that part figured out yet. So
Oh
who
no, no.
knows?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, you guys went from 0 to 60 really quick, so uh, there's definitely always a learning curve there. Like I
Hmm.
said, I'm hoping in the next few years we might find that little piece of property that calls to us, and put some guest houses in the back, little casitas.
Yeah,
Uh, so if a family comes up, everyone can go there, and or if I just don't want to be near people, we can go.
that's true too.
Yeah, you get tired of the big cities. Although I'm not in one right now, that's for sure.
Hmm. But yeah, with all the stuff, I wish I'd have saved some old clips of when we started adding everything and be able to put it together in one long video. But at that time,
Oh,
I'm not very tech savvy. So at that time, I didn't even know how to, you know, add clips together to make one video like that. So, you know,
yeah,
I've really been learning the whole YouTube thing, and John over at Prepper Nations helped me out a lot on the ins and outs and things like that. So,
yeah. John does some good videos. He does
mhm.
some really good ones. But oh yeah, YouTube's been kind of a surreal experience, and I'm a pretty techie guy, and I did some things. I was like, no, I'm taking that down. That looks awful. The public doesn't need to see that. We'll do that again tomorrow. Uh,
But yeah.
but
Um, Do you have any O lights? Do you like O lights?
What was that?
Said, do you have any O lights? Do you like O lights?
Olights. No, I don't have Olights. I've
I
got,
like them.
which ones?
I like them pretty good. I have a few of them, but I had my first negative experience with them today. I ordered one of the Baton 3s and it came today, but the box was empty. So I'm getting back in touch with
The
them.
box
And
was empty.
yeah, there's nothing in it but some bubble wrap. It wasn't even an item list or anything. So I
Oh, that's
contacted
weird.
I contacted Olight and they said that I need to contact FedEx as the ones that delivered it and file a claim. And then I get back with them and give them the claim number. They'll, ship it back out to me and take care of it and all that. So, you know, hopefully
No,
they do. Other than that, I hadn't had any trouble with them.
I've been using, and I found this. Sometimes I find the neatest stuff when I'm not even looking. I needed a flashlight, and I found the Lux Pro
Mm-hmm.
at Lowe's. It's just goofy little flashlight, and I liked it so much. I must have about 8 of them floating around the house at this point because I lose them, and
Mm-hmm.
so I figured if I buy enough of them, I can never lose one because they'll be everywhere.
That's
Um,
true.
and I think I got one. I probably have one. Yeah, I do have one in here. These little guys.
Yeah.
But then there's a bigger one, and but this one, it does the standard bright, oh, and it does the
Yeah.
flash. I've actually saw someone use one of these against a drunk without whacking him. He did the
Yeah. Really?
strobe to the drunk, and the drunk got disoriented and walked away.
Hmm.
And I was like, that was a really neat way to defuse a situation before it went to fists or God knows what else.
Yeah, it
Is
really
he
is.
just blinded the drunk who probably couldn't see straight anyway, and all of a sudden he did the zombie look, and he just wandered off and stumbled away. So if I
Yeah.
find that clip, I'll send it to you. It was really
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, I bet it is.
But yeah, up until then, the guy was throwing things at people. He's taking swings at folks, and he just blinded them with that stupid flashlight.
Mm-hmm.
And the drunk got disoriented, and off he went. But no, those Olights look really cool, though. I just pulled them up here on my other screen.
Yeah, I really like them, but I'm talking about doing a giveaway when I hit 1,000, and I think I'm gonna get an Olight and give it away. And I was
You
talking
should
about
do that.
earlier
That'd
when
be
I
fun.
I made that video, about having you on and everything. I'm gonna order the light, so I make sure that I have it, and then I'll just send it out,
Yeah,
personally,
send it, mail it to
because
somebody.
if I'd have done that and I would have ordered this and, shipped it from Olight to that person and they got an empty box, then that would be a lot of hassle
That would be embarrassing.
that would be I mean, it would be bad because like I said, I thought I could just contact Olight and get it straight through
Yeah,
them, and then they said I gotta go through FedEx and, God only knows how much back and forth that's gonna be, so
that doesn't sound right.
I don't
FedEx
think
is
so either.
notorious. That sounds bogus.
It's
Um,
weird because it's, an empty box, it was sealed, it hadn't been opened or torn or anything, and, the
and there was
label
no
on it
product.
was like it was supposed to be, but there was nothing in there, not even an item list or, anything like that, because it was supposed to be a couple lights in there and like a free gift and all that, and it's just a box and like 2 pieces of bubble wrap, and that's it. I thought when I picked it up that it was,
It didn't feel right.
it was nothing in it, but, sometimes Olight sends out like, free gifts or thank you or whatever they call it, because
Yeah.
and I thought maybe it was like some kind of card in there or, yada yada, but I opened it up and it's nothing. So
Oh, that's bizarre. I'll tell you what, my FedEx story. I was working for an explosives division of my company, and they lost 1,000 foot of dead cord.
wow.
And my shipping gal, the customer it was an oil field company. It was ATF transfer of explosives, and he calls. He's like, "Where are my docs? The ATF's going to inspect the bunker, and I don't have my docs or my product." So I call the warehouse. I'm like, ladies, we're and they showed me the video of it being loaded on the truck, and off it went to FedEx Freight. And they said, I'll call FedEx. And she called FedEx, and they said, oh, we'll find it later. It was during the holidays or something, and they gave her a runaround. So I asked her, give me the number of the warehouse manager. So I called him and said, look, you just lost 1,000 foot of RDX det cord.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't find it within 24 hours, I'm going to call the ATF. I'm going to show them the bill of lading, and I'm going to show them the video, and they're going to shut your warehouse down for a week till they find it.
Yeah.
I kid you not, within 45 minutes, I get a call saying, oh, we magically found the... I was like, good Lord, fella, couldn't you just send somebody to look for it and save us all the hassle?
For real.
But,
Personally, FedEx is not my favorite shipping company.
no. Somebody just posted weird things happen at FedEx. Where is it? A Hidden City Prepper. Weird things happen at FedEx. I lost 6 packages in one sitting. Oh, wow, that's impressive. Yeah, FedEx can be kind of bizarre to deal with.
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder about them. Do you use the O-lights on your carbines too, or your rifles, or do you use them just as handhelds?
Yeah, I have the PL Pro, the weapons lights. I got one on my Glock, and then I got the same one on my AR. And it's cool because they're magnetic recharge, and they also, like the one on my
Oh,
AR, they have a magnetic pressure pad. So, it just clips on there by magnet, and you put your pressure pad on the rail where you want it, and good to go.
yeah, I have an old tack light, but it's probably some things that should have been hidden in the 80s. So this might be a neat upgrade for me, is to stick one of these on there.
Like I said, other than, just getting that empty box today, I haven't had any negative problems with them. The Warrior Mini is a tactical EDC light that I think they've recalled now or whatever. They're working on
What was wrong
working
with
out the
those?
kinks. It's a really bright light in a small package, and it has a
Yeah,
tail switch on it, and it will turn on very easy in your pocket, and it'll get so hot that it'll set your pocket on fire. I actually
or
had one
burn you.
do it
Ooh,
to me. I had it in my pocket, and I started smelling something burning, but I didn't feel it yet, and it ends up it had started catching like a dollar bill on fire in my pocket. But they have a lockout feature. You hold the power button for like 2 or
yeah,
3 seconds, and it'll, lock out to where it only turn on like moon mode, like 2 or 3
right.
lumens until you unlock it to carry it that way. But they've gotten so many complaints that I got an email today that they're going to be doing something to uh, find a way to fix the problem or something.
See,
But
I'm glad you told me about that,
it's
because
like 1,800 lumens and like a light that big.
and what are they called again?
It's the Warrior Mini.
Okay.
I looked today, all of their Warrior Minis are showing out of stock or sold out or something. So I think they just pulled them off the market until they fix that problem.
Yeah, because that would be bad if that was in my checked-in luggage and caught the plane on fire.
Yeah, I mean if you put it in like a bug-out bag or something like that, not remembering to put it in lockout mode, and it does that, it
Well,
ain't
yeah,
no
yeah.
telling what it could catch on fire.
Oh, yeah. Well, being fire in my truck or on my backpack. Yeah, that would no.
Mhm.
That's sometimes too much tech is bad.
Yeah.
No, I will look into this some of these tactical lights. The PL Pro I'm looking at now. That's pretty neat looking.
I
And
really
that's
like
pressure
that
pad.
one. You
Is
can
that a
get a
quick
pressure
release on
pad
the
for
side?
it. Yeah, it is a quick release. And
Hmm.
they have one, the Odin and the Odin Mini. They have a pressure pad that comes with it, and it
Right.
screws on, so you don't have to worry about it coming off. Where the
Okay.
magnet you can hit it and knock it off. But I
Hmm.
always wanted to get one of them, but I hadn't yet. But this light here, I always keep on my hat is the Pro Run Mini, and I use this thing more than any other light because I just always have it with me, and it's hands
Yeah.
free whenever you're doing something.
I got that little Rebo hiking pack. It's really a hydration pack, kind of like a bicyclist pack, but it's a little bit bigger. It has
Hmm.
pockets. That's where I keep a flashlight here, and I keep a knife here. Yeah, because you see something and you can just go click and real quick. I guess you'd do this, but those two lights on my last video that you see when I'm walking in the dark, I actually
Mhm.
went to Walmart and bought those lights you put on your 10-speed, right? That you wrap around your handlebars, and I finagled them so I can attach them to my backpack because one of the shop trucks almost ran me down in my own subdivision the other day in the dark
Mm.
because he was late for work.
Yeah.
And I started using those lights, and people see me now. And then they almost ran another lady over looking at me. But yeah, no, having a couple of good flashlights. But thanks for that reco, man. That I gotta look at those.
Mhm.
And they have it on Amazon too, Amazon and on eBay.
Good to see you in here too, Big Red. Glad you could join us. But yeah, on that, I talked about it on a video a while back, but you can buy them from Amazon or eBay, especially if you're only planning on buying one. But if you're gonna, buy more than one,
Hmm.
if you go to olightstore.com and create your account, you
Oh,
start
no
building
kidding.
you start building points, and eventually you can get free stuff and you get perks and things like that, and you'll get like free gifts with your order sometimes when they have a flash sale and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And what the guys are doing on eBay and Amazon, they're buying them from Olight Store and then they're turning around and reselling them
reselling them on Amazon.
and then they're getting the points on their account, and then they're able to get free stuff and the different perks and
Hmm.
things like that. So I believe that's what a lot of them are doing, just buying them and
Yeah,
reselling them and racking up points.
yeah. Looks on the chat. Someone was saying it was 10 folks were shot in the store. Let me look back real quick. I
I
just
hadn't
caught the
seen that.
edge of that. There was an active shooter. I actually got the email from the corporate guys. Active shooter is not a Kroger. It was
Yeah, I didn't hear about that.
yeah, it
Boulder
was up
County.
in Denver or
Huh.
Boulder. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
that happened. Here we go. Security alert. See, and this is the kind of stuff I wind up getting. Oh, wrong way. Um,
Yeah.
so I'll get stuff like that or text. Even when I'm overseas, and I haven't been overseas in years, but I'll get these blings and I'll look down and they'll be, yeah, there's a riot and they're punching the cops two
Hmm.
miles from you. You may want to go back to your hotel now. So,
That is pretty neat. Kind of keeps you in the know.
well, yeah, because you go overseas and I don't know what radio stations to listen to. I mean, I
Hmm.
speak Spanish, but it's not my
Yeah.
first language. So even if I'm listening to the radio, I have to kind of translate in my head. And
Yeah.
but if I get something like that, then I'm gonna know I need to pay attention. It definitely helps to make friends with the concierge and the folks at the
Mhm.
hotel. They're a wealth of information if you're traveling.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, somebody put down was it cat lady? If someone was carrying besides cops, that actually happened in San Antonio. Somebody went into a theater just before the Rona, and he took two shots, and somebody with a carry shot him across one of the legs,
Hmm.
and they didn't take him out, but he went down, and it bought everyone about 60 seconds to run while
Yeah.
the guy kind of was floundering around the floor, and by the time he got up, the police that were assigned to the theater were on top of him, and that was the end of that. But
Yeah. But that
um,
extra minute can make a lot of difference.
mhm. I got a chance to play a victim in an active shooter drill. So they painted me up. I have a picture of that. They painted me up like I'd been injured, and a bunch of us we just laid around the building. But I gotta tell you, it was weird being a fly on the wall
Hmm.
and watching, a SWAT team come across, checking the bodies and checking the doors, and then they had a simulated firefight around the corner, and just hearing these blank gunshots through that building.
Hmm.
Um, if you've never experienced that before inside a closed environment, um, I could see where people panic and they start running around, not thinking of what
Yeah.
they're doing. And there are times they'll run right into the shooter because they can't tell by the echo where it's shooting's from.
Yeah.
So if you guys get a chance, there's a video. I think it's Run Hide Fight. I think that's it. Run, hide, fight, or hide, run, fight. Look it up. Do a little active shooter training on your own, because it's good stuff. You never know.
Yeah,
You never
it
know.
really is.
And you want to at least have a game plan if you hear shots go off inside a store, and you don't freeze and become deer in the headlights.
Mm-hmm.
But Boulder, Colorado is where it happened, at Super King Supermarket. Okay, that's a Kroger affiliate, isn't it? Super King?
I'm not sure if it is or not.
Huh. But yeah, that
But
was
yeah.
at Mrs. Prepping Plumber. I was trying to catch up. Somebody was asking questions, but I think I lost the question.
It's easy to do sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a lot going on the screen right now, so.
All right, Mrs. Preppin Plumber. Good night to you, and
Good
glad you were
night.
in here. And we're probably going to go ahead and close
Yeah,
it down too, and get ready for bed and work tomorrow and all that. So
there y'all go.
appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out with us. And if you haven't checked them out yet, his link's been down here and it's in the description. So go check them out. You got any final words here?
No, I don't. It was a pleasure meeting all of you. Thank you for the invitation. And y'all be safe out there, and, pay attention to what's going on. And, try and help each other out if you can. The more of us who are out there prepping, the better.
Mm-hmm. That's good advice, and appreciate you coming on, and we'll have to do it again sometime. So on that note, stay prepped up, prayed up, and strapped up. See you.
There you go. Take care.